Growing up in the 1990s, if you played RPGs, you were probably considered a nerd or a dork or a geek, but we've come a long way since those days, especially when you stop and consider that RPG elements are in just about every single AAA game available. Everything from God of War to Horizon Zero Dawn, even The Legend of Zelda now features enemy HP bars, attack, and defense stats. It's crazy to think that RPGs used to be considered this D&D nerd thing that was off to the side and now has taken over the entire gaming space. As a parent, I love RPGs as a gamer, but also I want my kids to play stuff that's not only age appropriate, but things that are going to help develop their reading skills, even their math skills. And you might think RPGs, they can do that, and absolutely they can. In fact, I learned how to read at a higher grade level than I did without playing RPGs. I know it sounds all crazy and complicated, but just trust us on this. We have 10 RPGs that we think are going to be a great fit for you as a parent, but also your kids. My name's Craig with Out of Control Games, and here's our list of 10 RPGs that we highly recommend you can play with your kids or let your kids play. Starting with our number 10 pick, we're going to pick either Secret of Mana or Trials of Mana. Both of these can be found on the Collection of Mana, and they're multiplayer RPGs. They're not your simple turn-based, and they're more action RPG oriented. However, the stories are fantastic and definitely age-appropriate whether you play with your kids or not. Regardless, Secret of Mana is about a boy who pulls a sword and then meets up with a girl and a sprite to save the world. Trials of Mana has replayable features such as 6 different playable characters and multiple endings. Either way, it's going to be a great time and is definitely affordable if you have a Nintendo Switch. Now, if you're like me and you own the original cartridge of Secret of Mana for the Super Nintendo and you have a multiplayer tab, you can play up to 3 people. But if you're playing on the Switch, it's so much easier. Just grab 3 Pro controllers and give it a go, or 3 Joy-Cons. Either way, this is going to be a great time for you and your kids. Next up in the number 9 slot, it's going to be the Mario and Luigi series. Now, right now, you can play the original Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga on the Nintendo Switch through the online service, which this game is fantastic. Now, keep in mind, these games are single player. So, it's either you or your kid playing. One way or another, you're both going to have a great time because the story is absolutely hilarious. Definitely age appropriate by all means, not just because Nintendo made it, but it's Mario and Luigi. The story's simple. It's Mario trying to save the world from Bowser. Turns out, Bowser might not be the bad guy. Spoiler alert. But anyway, this game's absolutely fantastic. It's hilarious, has lots of explorability, and features a great leveling system. Remember when Minecraft kind of took over the world for all elementary kids for some point? It was like, what, the late 2000s up and through the early 2010s? It was a crazy time for sure, and Minecraft still to this day is impacting kids. So much that it has influenced Dragon Quest builders. Both 1 and 2 are going to be great games. 2 features online multiplayer if you want to pay for 2 copies. But that aside, this game is an action RPG filled with building elements you'll find similar to Minecraft and is absolutely enjoyable. So if your kids like Minecraft, we highly recommend this because it's a step above Minecraft in my personal opinion. Not only does it feature that building and you get to go out into the world and go explore, it features multiple biomes and it's not just one gigantic world. So there's actually a condensed story here for you and your kids to enjoy. If you or your kids like Pokemon, definitely check out Monster Hunter Stories. This game is absolutely fantastic because it features those monster capturing mechanics similar to Pokemon, however a little bit different because you actually get to raise the monsters that you capture, or we should say the eggs that you capture. The first game is locked on the 3DS and we'd love to see an HD remaster of that. However, the second game is readily available. You can't buy it new anymore, but you can still find it used at different retailers that sell used games or even online. That aside, it's set in the Monster Hunter universe, is absolutely fantastic and a joy to play. Highly recommend this one. Now, it is single player up to a certain point. It does unlock online multiplayer. So, similar to Pokemon, you get 2 copies. You can play with your kids or a friend. Either way, it's definitely going to be a great time. We can't talk about RPGs or have an RPG list without mentioning Final Fantasy, and that's where the Pixel Remasters come into play. Now, this is expensive if you're trying to get the digital download, or you can import a physical copy for the Switch. Either way, you're getting 6 classic Final Fantasy games, all of them All of them are great for not only adults but kids as well. They do feature scenes that have to deal with death, and so please keep that in mind. And that's more specifically in games 4, 5, 6, and 2. But either way, they're all fantastic stories in their own right, specifically 4, 5, and 6. 5 we didn't originally get in the US, and 4 was our original 2, 3 was our original 6, or 6 was our original 3. You guys have probably heard the story before. Either way, 4, 5, and 6 on the original Super Nintendo and Super Famicom feature multiplayer elements. So if you have an original copy of 4 and 6 that came out in the US, you can play multiplayer with Super Nintendo, or even on the PlayStation versions. However, the Pixel Remasters cut that feature. Either way, these games are fantastic. Feature a lot of text, and so it does encourage reading, but more importantly, the active time battle that was featured in 4, 5, and 6 are fantastic, and they kept the active time battle system all the way through Final Fantasy X. So, great games, highly recommend that they are played, whether it's in the Pixel Remasters or other means. And speaking of Pokemon, we can't get around this one, but Pokemon Let's Go or Scarlet and Violet are going to be great recommendations depending on your kids' ages. Right now, my 5-year-old Nai just started Let's Go Pikachu, and she is having a blast throwing Pokeballs with me at the same time. Her little character pops up on the screen next to mine, and I can control where we're going, and she gets to interact with the world. It's a lot of fun. Now, when she gets older, Scarlet and Violet would definitely be our go-tos. One of us can grab one copy and the other can grab the other, and we can go and capture them all together. That's why, I wish we would have put Pokemon a little bit higher, but there's definitely some better games out there we can recommend. But even at number 5, that's not a slouch spot by any means at all. Absolutely, if you have kids that are into Pokemon, try it. Even if you're a Gen 1er like myself, give it a go. You might find some of your old friends sitting there from whenever you last left Johto. Or maybe you were like me and you left off at Gold and Silver. Either way, it's a great time. All those RPG elements are there, just like when we were kind of trying to catch them all as kids. Highly, highly recommend Pokemon Let's Go and Scarlet and Violet. So you might be thinking, what's better than Pokemon at this point? Even though this is our list and our opinions, we do believe Paper Mario and the entire series is probably better than Pokemon if you have kids that are wanting to get into RPGs. Now, before you get your pitchforks and torches, just let us start with this. Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64 is an absolute classic. Not only does it feature the active time battle system featured in Super Mario RPG, it has a simple RPG mechanics that anybody can just pick up and play. The story's hilarious. The story's much better than anything you probably find in Pokemon because it actually has a story. Now, Thousand Year Door is an absolute king, and we wish it would get an HD re-release. So if you have a GameCube, dig it out with Thousand Year Door. Or even the Origami King is much better than the last release that came out on the Wii U, Color Splash. Color Splash was fine, but if you have access to the Origami King, it takes everything that game tried to do and make it so much better, even adding puzzle elements into the battle system. Either way, the Paper Mario series is absolutely fantastic and is great for gamers of all ages. And speaking of stories, that's where the next game fits in. Ni no Kuni, The Wrath of the White Witch. Now, Ni no Kuni 2 is just as good, but the first game in the series takes it by far. This game not only features Pokemon elements, but has an active RPG element battle system featuring all the different elements and all of that, but you also get to grow these characters into their ultimate forms, much like Pokemon. However, that's not the best part of this game. The story was not only written by Studio Ghibli, and produced and worked in correlation with Studio Ghibli. It is gorgeous, and I will admit, as a grown man, one of the few games I cried at the ending. If you have kids, do yourself a favor and sit down and play the first game with them. The second game's great. It features a town building mechanic as well as a more robust active RPG combat system, but the first game is tremendous as well. Either way, you can find these games stupid cheap. You can get them for about $10 each. do yourself a favor, pick them up if you have a PS4. But if you have a Switch, you're going to be paying that Switch tax for a physical cartridge. Nothing wrong with that either, because they play great on the Switch as well. Next up on our list is one of the greatest action RPG series ever. I will be totally transparent with you. The story of Kingdom Hearts still confuses me. All I know is about hearts and heartlesses and all this other nobody business, but we are not recommending it for that. Simply the fact that you get Donald and Goofy as your party members makes this the greatest gaming series, or one of the greatest gaming series ever. But let's be honest, it is a ton of fun. It's a hack and slash action RPG that lets you feature and go to the different worlds of Disney. Yes, you don't get to build a snowman in the Frozen level on Kingdom Hearts 3, but you do get Marshmallow as your party member, and that alone spikes this up in our hearts. Also, in Rapunzel's world, Flynn Rider is your cohort. You also get to play with Tarzan. I could gush on and on and on, but I also have a lot of nostalgia for this personally, especially as a high schooler playing Kingdom Hearts for the first time and seeing Disney featured. I could talk about this for hours, but I'm not going to, because we still have our honorable mentions and our number one pick to get to. So I have to be totally transparent with you. When it comes to honorable mentions and talking about great RPGs, there are no slouches on this list. What made it difficult was defining what's going to be great for kids of all ages. Now, these games are definitely recommended if you have older kids or teenagers because of some of the more adult themes that come across, such as death or other maybe harder to understand story elements. But one game that's definitely a pick up and play for younger kids would be Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. However, it is Super Nintendo only, so if you still have a Super Nintendo, it's a great time to pick it up on the cheap too. This is more of the more affordable games for the SNES. Or some people have gone the emulation route. We don't judge that at all. It actually did come out for the Wii Virtual Console, so maybe if you have that, that's a great option as well. Then there's Yokai Watch. It's a Pokemon-like series that has ghost catching mechanics, and it's locked on the 3DS. Now, we only suggest this, and it didn't make the main list because of the ghost catching mechanics, and some kids might be more sensitive to monsters or that sort of thing. And then there's Suikoden. This game does have a few more adult themes, nothing of intense nature, but HD remakes of 1 and 2 are coming out soon, or if you have a PS3, you can still download the original 1 and 2 and carry your save files over into 3 to affect the overall story. Then there's also Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross. These are digitally only at the moment, unless you find original PS1 copies or DS copy of Chrono Trigger, or even a original Super Nintendo copy out in the wild for the Super Nintendo. These games are fantastic. However, the story gets more complicated, which is why we don't necessarily recommend it for younger audiences. You can get it on PC or Android, and you can also get it on PS3 if you have a PS3, but you would be downloading the PlayStation 1 version, which has horrible load times. Then Chrono Cross is also available for the PS3, and it's also available on Nintendo Switch, PS4, and Xbox. You can import an Asian copy. Just keep in mind, you're going to be paying the Switch tax for that. Either way, all these games are being great, and definitely highly recommend them. Okay, so what could possibly be the greatest of the great that we would make it our number one pick? Super Mario RPG Legend of the 7 Stars. It is getting a remake for the Nintendo Switch, but this game is perfect. The story is phenomenal. There's a ton of side quests to do. Not overwhelming, but still just enough to just whet the appetite. The combat is perfect and flawless. The action active time battle system's amazing. It's the perfect golden era of when Square is at the top of their game, and so is Nintendo. This game is amazing, and we can't gush enough about it. So much that we've been gushing about it for over 20 years, and we're finally getting it on the Switch. If you have a Super Nintendo Classic, play it. If you have a Wii with a copy of this, play it. If you have the original Super Nintendo copy, play it. Or the Switch copy's coming in just a few months, and this game is absolutely great for you and your kids. Either way, both of you are going to enjoy the story. It's classic, it's timeless, it beats Disney's pants off today with its story. And, even better, the princess is not a damsel in distress. If you agree with our picks, let us know. Or if there's any other games that you would suggest, let us know. We would love to hear your suggestions. Either way, we hope that you have a wonderful weekend or a wonderful day whenever you're watching this. Please stay healthy, stay happy, and stay positive out there. We love you guys and can't wait to see you in the next video.